What if gaining just 1 hour of sleep tonight could reduce your risk of a heart attack by 21% tomorrow morning? That is not a theory. That is what happens every single spring when daylight saving time removes 1 hour of sleep from entire populations. And cardiac units in hospitals across the country fill up. Every fall, when we gain that hour back, heart attack rates drop by the same margin. 1 hour, 21%. Now, here's the question nobody is asking. If 1 hour can do that, what is chronic, low quality sleep doing to your body every single night? Because here's what I see in the data. Millions of people are clocking 8 hours in bed and waking up feeling like they barely slept. They are exhausted by 2 in the afternoon. Their focus is gone. Their mood is unstable. And they'll assume the problem is stress or diet or age. In most cases, the problem is not how long they're sleeping. It is what kind of sleep they're getting and when. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 4 stages your brain cycles through every night. Why only one of them is responsible for the deep restoration you actually need. What a 60-year-old's brain is losing that a 30-year-old's is not. And 5 specific things you can do tonight to change the quality of your sleep, not just the quantity. The last section is the one most people never hear. Stay with me. Most people think of sleep as an on-off switch. You close your eyes, your brain goes quiet, you wake up. But that is not what is happening at all. Your brain cycles through 4 distinct stages every 90 minutes throughout the night, and each of those stages does something completely different. Miss the right ones, even if you're technically asleep for 8 hours, and you wake up feeling like you did not sleep at all. The first 2 stages, N1 and N2, are light sleep. N1 is a transition, the stage where a sound will wake you and you will swear you were never asleep. N2 is where you spend roughly 50% of your night. It plays a role in motor memory and heart rate regulation, but it is not where restoration happens. N3, called slow wave sleep or deep sleep, is a stage that matters most for how you feel when you wake up. This is where your body releases growth hormone, where cellular repair takes place, where your immune system consolidates its defenses, and where something extraordinary happens inside your brain, something that scientists only fully understood about a decade ago. Then there is REM sleep, rapid eye movement, which is where your brain processes emotions, consolidates memories, and generates the creative connections that make you sharp and adaptable the next day. Without enough REM, your brain holds on to stress it would otherwise discharge overnight. You wake up emotionally raw, reactive, and cognitively dull, even after 8 hours. Here's the critical point. The proportion of time you spend in each stage is not fixed. It is shaped by your behavior, your stress levels, your light exposure, and what time you go to bed, which means most people are unknowingly spending the majority of their night in light sleep and wondering why they are exhausted. Let me tell you about one of the most important discoveries in neuroscience in the last 20 years. Your brain has its own waste management system. It is called the glymphatic system, and unlike the rest of your body's lymphatic system, it is almost entirely inactive while you are awake. During slow wave sleep, N3, your brain cells actually shrink by up to 60%. This opens up channels between cells, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow through and flush out toxic metabolic byproducts. The 2 most dangerous of these are amyloid beta and tau, the proteins directly linked to Alzheimer's disease and neurodegeneration. A landmark study published in Science found that this glymphatic clearance is significantly more active during sleep than during waking hours. Your brain is literally cleaning itself every night, and the primary window for that cleaning is deep sleep. Now, think about what happens when you shortchange N3, even if you sleep 8 hours, but the majority of those hours are in light sleep. The cleaning cycle never fully activates. You wake up with yesterday's metabolic waste still sitting in your brain. That is not a metaphor. That is the biology. Researchers at JAMA Neurology found in 2023 that the specific loss of slow wave sleep, independent of total sleep duration, correlates with a significantly higher risk of incident dementia. It is not just about sleeping long enough, it is about sleeping deeply enough. And here's what makes this particularly urgent. Deep sleep is the stage that declines most dramatically as we age. A healthy 25-year-old might spend 20% of their night in slow wave sleep. By the time they are 60, that can drop to under 5%. This is not inevitable, but it is a default, and most people have no idea it is happening. There is one hormone more responsible for poor sleep quality than any other. It is not melatonin, it is cortisol. Cortisol is your primary alertness hormone. In a healthy pattern, it peaks sharply in the morning, within the first hour of waking, and then gradually declines throughout the day, reaching its lowest point at night. That low nighttime level is what allows your brain to shift into deep sleep. But here is the problem. Chronic stress, anxiety, and a set of behaviors most of us engage in every evening all cause cortisol to remain elevated at night. And when cortisol is elevated, your brain gets a clear biological signal. Stay alert. Do not go deep. There are two ways this shows up. If cortisol spikes just before you fall asleep, you end up lying in bed with your mind racing, unable to drift off. Sleep onset insomnia. If cortisol spikes in the middle of the night, you wake at 2 or 3 in the morning with a flood of thoughts and cannot return to sleep. Sleep maintenance insomnia. Both patterns leave you technically in bed for 8 hours. Neither allows sufficient time in N3. What drives nighttime cortisol up? 3 things appear most consistently in the research. Unresolved psychological stress, particularly the kind that involves unfinished tasks or social conflict. Late night screen use, not just because of blue light, but because checking email or social media activates a planning and threat detection response in the brain that directly triggers the stress axis. And irregular sleep timing, which disrupts the cortisol rhythm itself, making the whole system less predictable. The good news is that the behavioral levers here are simple. Not easy, but simple. And I will give you the specific ones at the end. Now, here is what I promised you at the beginning. The finding that most people never hear. Your body's core temperature naturally begins to drop in the early evening, typically around 9 to 10 p.m. That temperature drop is one of the primary biological signals that initiates slow wave sleep. The physiology is direct. To enter N3, your core body temperature must fall by 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. If you stay up past the natural window, your body begins to rewarm, and the signal for deep sleep weakens. Here's the consequence. Every hour you stay up past your natural sleep window does not just reduce your total time asleep. It specifically compresses the portion of your night that contains slow wave sleep. Because deep sleep is most concentrated in the first half of the night, roughly the first 4 hours. REM sleep, by contrast, dominates the second half. So when someone stays up until 1 or 2 in the morning and then sleeps until 9, they are not simply shifting their schedule. They are cutting off the front end of the night, which is disproportionately rich in N3, and keeping the back end, which is disproportionately light sleep and REM. The result is that they may technically sleep 8 hours, but spend almost none of it in the deep, restorative stage their brain needed most. The word midnight is instructive here. It literally means the middle of the solar cycle. Our biology was calibrated to treat midnight as the midpoint of sleep, not the beginning of the night. Modern schedules have inverted this relationship entirely. And then we add artificial light. Bright overhead lighting between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. suppresses melatonin almost instantly. Your phone screen at 11 p.m. is not just keeping you mentally stimulated. It is actively blocking the hormonal signal your brain needs to initiate sleep architecture. One more thing worth understanding, especially if you are in your 40s, 50s, or 60s. The decline in deep sleep with age is one of the most consistent findings in sleep research. And unlike many aspects of aging, it begins surprisingly early, often in the mid-30s. By the time most people reach 60, their slow wave sleep may have declined by 80% compared to their 20s. A 2021 study published in Nature Communications found that sleeping less than 6 hours per night in midlife was associated with a significantly increased risk of dementia later in life. Not a modest risk, a significant one. But here is what the research also shows. This decline is not purely inevitable. Sleep quality is one of the most modifiable variables in your biology. The protocols that protect slow wave sleep are accessible, zero cost, and they work. The question is whether you are using them. Let me give you 5 specific actions, each with a clear biological mechanism behind it. 1. Get outside within 30 to 60 minutes of waking and expose your eyes to natural light for at least 10 minutes. This triggers a sharp, early cortisol peak, which is exactly what you want in the morning, and sets a 12 to 14 hour timer for your melatonin release. Getting that cortisol peak early means it will be low by evening, which is what allows deep sleep to begin. 2. Delay your first coffee by 90 minutes after waking. Your body naturally clears the sleep chemical adenosine in the first hour after waking. If you drink coffee the moment you wake up, you block that process, and then when the caffeine wears off at 2 p.m., the adenosine crashes back in. That is the afternoon slump. Delaying caffeine by 90 minutes eliminates it. 3. Dim your lights after 9 p.m. Switch off overhead fluorescent lighting and use warm, low lamps. Bright light at night suppresses melatonin within minutes. This is the single highest leverage change most people can make immediately. 4. Take a warm shower or bath 30 to 60 minutes before bed. The heat draws blood to the surface of the skin. When you step out, your core body temperature drops rapidly, which directly mimics and accelerates the natural temperature signal your brain uses to initiate slow wave sleep. 5. Stop checking email or social media after 9 p.m. This is not just about screen light. The act of reading messages, reviewing tasks, or engaging with social content activates a cortisol and planning response that can keep your stress axis elevated for 2 to 3 hours. Give your nervous system a runway. Here's what I want you to take away from this. 8 hours in bed is not 8 hours of restoration. What your brain actually needs is sufficient time in slow wave sleep, and that depends on your cortisol pattern, your light exposure, your body temperature, and what time you go to bed. Most of us are unknowingly undermining all 4 of those variables every night. Start with one change tonight. Dim your lights at 9. Let your body temperature begin to drop naturally. Give your brain the conditions it needs to do what it evolved to do. If this was useful, subscribe. Every week, we translate the latest longevity research into exactly this format. No supplements to sell, no agenda, just the science clearly explained. Next week, your resting heart rate is one of the most powerful predictors of how long you will live, and 5 minutes a day can change it. We will show you exactly what the data says. See you then.